When a cowpoke finds a Lovecraftian hole in the earth, what's he gonna do? My guess is he'll probably say, "Whoo, Nelly!" or something. The opening scene begins on a haunting dark night where a guy named Royal Abbott carries a dead body on his shoulder with his voiceover overlapping the visuals. He narrates about the Greek god of time, Kronos, who used to carry a sickle to separate the two worlds, the known and the unknown. Royal throws the body into a void, and right then, someone shines a flashlight on him. 3 days earlier, Royal wakes up beside his wife Cecilia, who recounts her recurring dream. Turns out she frequently dreams about their missing daughter-in-law, Rebecca, reuniting with her granddaughter. Cecilia asks him not to share her dream with anyone, which he never does. The couple lives with their 2 sons, Perry and Rhett, and Perry's daughter, Amy. It appears that Rhett is aiming to be a professional bull rider, just like his father, but he still has to practice a lot more for that. As of right now, all he is professional bullshit. One night, before going to sleep, Amy asks Cecilia about how she and Royal met. In response, Cecilia tells her that Royal had a very rough childhood and that he never knew his real parents. However, he doesn't remember the trauma. One day, something happened that made him run away from his home and show up at Cecilia's family ranch, the place where they're currently living. Meanwhile, Royal feels an eerie presence and hears some strange sounds around him, but fails to figure out what it is. At the same time, their neighbor, Wayne Tillerson, also hears the droning sound and senses something amiss. He then makes a call to Cecilia to warn her that something is coming, but the latter hangs up the phone, believing he's drunk. The following morning, Royal finds out that their 2 cows have gone missing. Panicked, he alerts his sons and the 3 prepare to go looking for their missing cattle. Just before they leave, they're stopped by a hitchhiker named Autumn. She introduces herself as a poet and requests that they allow her to camp at their ranch for a few days. Despite hesitating at first, Royal eventually agrees when she pays him some bucks. "I like bucks," says the bull rider. Following this, he and his sons head towards the fence, which is dividing the Abbott and Tillerson ranches. There, they are approached by Wayne's 3 sons, Luke, Billy, and Trevor. The eldest son, Luke, informs Royal that as per the county assessment, his fences are nearly half a mile over the Tillerson property. Thus, he gives him 30 days to move them. After their brief discussion, Royal and his sons split up to continue their search. Royal reaches the western part of his ranch where he discovers a humongous hole with seemingly no bottom and some kind of cosmic dust floating over it. "Ooh, Nelly!" says Royal. Puzzled, he throws a rock into the vastness, but it doesn't hit the bottom. He then proceeds to stick his hand into the abyss. A stupid idea, which causes him to experience a vision of himself walking back home and greeting Deputy Sheriff Joy. This freaks him out, so he hastily removes his hand and returns. Upon arriving home, the exact moment that he saw earlier plays out in real time, thereby hinting at the fact that the cosmic hole allows the person to look into the future. Deputy Sheriff Joy is there to inform Royal and his family that the FBI is going to stop looking for Rebecca due to a lack of new leads. Royal is worried about Rebecca and Tillerson's legal notice, but his mind is mostly occupied by the mythical pit. The next day, he visits the hole again. He tries to fill it with soil and cover it up with a tarp, but his efforts prove futile. Frustrated, he screams into the void, which is hilarious, just shrieking because his cowboy brain can't handle this shit, until he spots a bison with 2 arrows piercing its body. As the bison moves away, Royal regains composure and seeks out Autumn. He strikes up a conversation with her, trying to understand her motives for living all alone in the wilderness. However, she changes the topic and inquires if he is willing to sell the ranch. She even starts naming prices, causing him to become skeptical. He then challenges her to prove that she has money, but she says that she'll do it on a condition: he spills one of his secrets. Puzzled by the request, Royal walks away from the conversation. Later that night, Perry and Rhett go to the bar to drown their sorrows. They are still shattered by the fact that the FBI is backing away from the investigation around Rebecca. Unfortunately, they get into a scuffle with Trevor, and Rhett ends up knocking him down. He then asks his brother to wait there while he brings the truck. In Rhett's absence, Trevor makes an offhanded remark about Rebecca. This enrages Perry so much that he punches the guy to death. He soon regrets his actions, but it's too late. Shocked and scared, the 2 brothers load the dead body into the truck and drive back home. Upon arrival, they hide their truck in the barn. However, they're caught by their father, who is understandably angry about it, but vows to protect his sons. He orders Rhett to clean the truck, while deciding to handle the body disposal himself. "Don't worry, boys. Just gonna throw it in that goddamn hole." Not long after, Luke and Billy knock on the door to inquire about Trevor. Perry answers the door, acting as if he knows nothing. While they talk, he toggles the barn light to discreetly signal Rhett and Royal about the impending threat. Shortly after, the Tillersons discover tire tracks in the dirt, which leads them directly to the barn. As if there aren't tire tracks all over this place, they bust their way in and find the truck, only it's filled with hay bales. Turns out Royal is already galloping away on his horse towards the mystic hole, intending to dispose of the body. But along the way, a burst of lightning startles the horse, causing Trevor to fall down. He then quickly carries the body on his shoulders, reaches the hole, and hurls it in. This is the same scene from the start of the show. The one who shines the flashlight on him is none other than Autumn. She begins reciting the story of Kronos while slowly walking towards him. In an unexpected turn of events, she holds him with tenderness and then suddenly pushes him into the abyss. In the next scene, we see Royal inexplicably waking up in the middle of a field amid a downpour. As he rises to his feet, perplexed about the events, his horse appears. He then returns home with a wound in his leg, probably due to the fall. Upon arrival, he sees his sons and wife waiting for him in the kitchen, with Cecilia now aware of the secret. Following this, the family discusses their next move, but Royal claims that there's nothing to talk about because Trevor's body is already gone. When Cecilia asks about Autumn, Royal assures that he'll track her down soon. On the other hand, the Tillersons enlist Sheriff Joy to investigate Trevor's disappearance. Luke hands her a blood-stained belt buckle from Trevor, which he retrieved from outside the bar earlier. Despite her initial lack of interest, Joy is compelled to look into the case because the election for the new sheriff is in 28 days, and the Tillerson boys can help swing the upcoming vote in her favor. Elsewhere, Rhett goes to meet her childhood crush Maria, who is one of the few people who witnessed the tussle between him and Trevor. He asks her out on a date, with the agenda to keep things quiet if the Tillersons inquire about what happened on that fateful night. Later that day, Royal and Perry visit their lawyer to talk about reversing the legal order of shifting their fence. However, the lawyer suggests they hand over the piece of land to Tillerson without any fuss, as they never lose a legal battle. Hearing this, Royal decides to talk to Wayne in person. Upon reaching their residence, he offers 200 acres of land from his south pasture to sort out the matter, but Wayne is obsessed with the west portion. This indicates that he also knows about the mysterious hole. Frustrated, Royal decides to take the matter to court. In the meantime, Amy spots Autumn in the hill, looking at some occult symbols resembling the Abbott family brand. When the little girl asks what she's doing, Autumn says that she's been drawing the design of the brand her whole life, and now she's here at the Abbott Ranch. Upon learning that Amy is an Abbott, she indirectly inquires about Royal and gets surprised to learn that he is still alive. At night, Royal conveys to his family that he wants to move the cattle from the west pasture to the east. His family doesn't understand his motives and thinks he is losing his mind, but only Royal knows what horror lies in the west pasture. It's that freaking hole, man. It's freaking me out. After dinner, everyone goes to their beds while he sneaks out into the barn and pulls out an old picture of his parents. Just then, Autumn arrives there and asks what he's looking for. Royal evades her question and demands that she leave the barn. However, she refuses, as she knows about his secret, which she uses as leverage against him. Through their conversation, we learn that Autumn, like Royal, lacks memories of her life before the age of 9. She then asks what he saw in that pit and how he survived it. The scene flashes back to Royal falling through the hole and landing on a field beside the same mystic hole. He found himself surrounded by big, bright lights, and the army pointing guns at him. As he shifted his attention, he saw Autumn dressed in a uniform that made him believe that she was either working for the government or the drilling company. Shortly after, Cecilia walked towards him and informed him that she had already died 2 years ago in that timeline. She also revealed that the ranch doesn't belong to them anymore. As Royal tried to decipher this information, his wife discreetly whispered in his ear and asked him to run. Moments later, Luke came out of the crowd and shot him in the leg, which explains how he got the wound earlier. In a desperate attempt to save himself, Royal jumped back into the hole, returning back to his original timeline. Forget the bulls. Royal is now a professional hole rider. In the next scene, Sheriff Joy heads to a store to put up a poster for her election, but she inadvertently walks into a robbery. She bravely effectively subdues the robber and hauls him into the back of her car. While driving him to the station, the robber begins ranting about the real problems in town, particularly the mysterious disappearances of people. Meanwhile, at the Tillersons' residence, Wayne instructs his sons to offer Royal $1 million for his west pasture. Luke reminds him that their court hearing is next month, and they're going to get that land anyway. However, Wayne sticks to his decision to make an offer, which upsets Luke as he thinks his father is prioritizing land acquisition over finding Trevor. During one of her walks, Autumn comes across the same bison with 2 arrows in it. She casually takes one out, but the creature leaves before she can pull out the next one. Following this, she walks around the streets, where she discovers Royal's vehicle outside a bar. She enters the bar and comes across Perry. The two then have a brief chit-chat regarding Rebecca's disappearance. The same evening, Rhett is preparing for his bull riding competition when Joy pays him a visit. As they converse, she discloses that according to the forensic report, the blood on the buckle matches his DNA. In response, Rhett admits that he was at the scene that night, but he doesn't know anything about the blood. Joy knows that he's hiding something, but she doesn't ask any further questions and departs. Later, we see Rhett under a lot of stress as he fears that he will be apprehended soon. But despite this, he manages to score high points, finally securing a victory in the competition. Later, he goes on a date with Maria and gets drunk. After a lovely dinner, the two share a romantic kiss outside the restaurant before departing. In an inebriated state, Rhett then goes behind a cop's car and urinates, which results in him being arrested. Later, at the police station, Joy approaches him and convinces him to reveal whatever he knows about Trevor. This time, he finally admits that he got into a scuffle with him. However, he doesn't reveal the entire truth, hiding the fact that Perry was the one to beat him to death. Shortly after, Royal arrives at the station to bail out his son. While waiting, he discreetly steals Trevor's buckle so that he can dispose of it in the mysterious hole. On their way back home, Royal confides in Rhett, revealing a long-held secret about his family. He discloses that his mother didn't pass away during his childhood. After his father's death, Royal was so depressed that he abandoned his mother and youngest sister and came to Abbott Ranch. The following day, Royal visits Autumn, who is still camping on his ranch. He inquires the reason as to why she pushed him earlier, to which she vaguely replies that she wanted to know what would happen. He then proposes a deal. She can remain on the ranch if she keeps all of these secrets to herself, which she agrees to. As he shakes hands with Autumn, the mountain behind him inexplicably vanishes. The strange sight is witnessed by Joy as well, but before she can comprehend the situation, it reappears. Later on, Amy goes for a little hike in the nearby forest, where she discovers Trevor's lifeless body. Alarmed, the little girl hurries back home and shares the discovery with her family. In order to divert suspicion, Royal makes a clever move. He calls the deputy sheriff and notifies her about the dead